Thank you. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this summer insider briefing to learn more about the Chimpanzees in Need campaign. We're really grateful for those of you who have joined us numerous times already and are back to hear more, and for those of you who might be new. My name is Erica Fleury. I serve as the program director of the North American Primate Sanctuary Alliance, or NAPSA. We're a coalition of the leading primate sanctuaries who collectively care for over 800 rescued and retired apes and monkeys, including over 700 chimpanzees. Since 2019, we have been involved in helping to place the wildlife way station primates. And in early 2020, we began leading the Chimpanzees in Need emergency rescue fundraiser. On today's call, everyone is muted. So I know some of you may have heard me say this before, but we have the chat box and you can ask us questions as we go. We'll do our best to answer them as we speak. And at the end, there is time for Q&A as well. I'm joined by a lot of helpful folks and key members of this effort. We have behind the scenes, Cassie Carter, who is one of our fundraising consultants. She's going to be helping us run this call. But then speaking along with me, we have Diana Goodrich, Ed Pert, and Kate Thompson. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we'll start with Diana.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon, evening. So my name is Diana Goodrich, and I am the co-director of Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest, which is in Washington State. And we are one of the small group of sanctuaries that's helping rehome the wildlife way station chimps. And Kate, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Thompson, and I am one of the last operational board members at the Wildlife Way Station. And Erica?
Yeah, I'm going to let Ed introduce himself first.
Okay. Yeah, hello.
Sorry,
Thank
Ed.
you for joining us, everyone. I'm Ed Pert. I'm the regional manager for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I'm also the project lead for this project. So thank you for joining us again, Erica.
Great, thank you. So we're excited to share more with you about our progress with Chimpanzees in Need. We're finally very close to successfully rehoming all of the wildlife way station chimps. And as we approach completion of this campaign, today's briefing will highlight what we have left to do to finish it out. We're also very excited to hear from Diana about how 9 of the rescued chimps are doing at Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest and what we can do to support them. Ed and Kate are going to share more about progress towards closing down the wildlife way station and how this is all working. And before we hear the details from them, I want to catch you up on where we are with the campaign so far. So for those of you who might be a little bit new, the wildlife way station was an unaccredited refuge who was not a member of NAPSA, but when they announced their unexpected closure in 2019, 3 years ago, NAPSA quickly got involved with the placement efforts. So there were about 480 animals on site at the time. And while most were successfully placed at reputable sanctuaries, which was truly remarkable, we were happy to also find homes for about 16 monkeys that were there, but there were 42 chimpanzees with nowhere to go. Now, the chimpanzees couldn't stay at the way station for many reasons, including outdated infrastructure, an insufficient water source, and the location is in an extreme fire hazard area, which had caused evacuations many times in the past. So when the way station shut, unfortunately, all of the accredited and reputable sanctuaries in this country who care for chimpanzees were full. They were at capacity. Physical expansions were necessary to fit in more chimpanzees who require very specialized and expensive care and housing. And it quickly became apparent that a fundraiser was necessary. Chimpanzees in Need began with a grant from the Arcus Foundation, who has continued to support this effort over the years. That permitted NAPSA to hire fundraising consultants and PR consultants and to organize the Chimpanzees in Need rescue effort. The whole fundraiser is fiscally sponsored by a conservation-based nonprofit called Seventh Generation Advisors. So if you've donated to us, you have likely seen the receipt or the website from Seventh Generation Advisors who processed your payment. It's also an ongoing collaboration between NAPSA, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the sanctuaries taking the chimpanzees, the wildlife way station itself, of course, and national chimpanzee experts who have overseen the placement decisions, in addition to the foundations and donors who have all made it possible. And we've said all along, it takes a village. Here are some of the members of our village, including all of you on this call right now. So recently, we've had some exciting things happening. This summer, we welcomed into the campaign Save the Chimps, a founding member of NAPSA, an accredited sanctuary in Florida, who was able to welcome 7 of the chimpanzees. We called them the Sunrise 7. And just last month, they moved to Florida and they immediately settled into life there. I think it was the day of. They were relaxed, they were exploring their habitat. And they're truly thriving there. There are 10 chimpanzees left at the way station, and we plan to transport them all by the end of this year. You'll hear a little bit more about that later. Also this summer, we had a great article in National Geographic come out. You can read it at chimpsinneed.org. That's our website. And you can learn a bit more about why it's so hard for sanctuaries to care for chimpanzees, where they come from, why funding is necessary, and why the way station had to close. Now, I think is a good time to talk to Ed, and we can hear a bit more about how this has been working and what his role is in this crazy effort.
All right, thanks, Erica, and good afternoon again, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and again, thanks for any and all of your support that you have done thus far. We really, really appreciate it. I know some of you have heard some of these things before, but in case you're new to these things and you don't know how the department became involved with the Wildlife Way Station project, back in 2019, the Wildlife Way Station was forced to close and had to relinquish their state restricted species permit due to just a series of unfortunate events. And when that happened, the Department of Fish and Wildlife had to take responsibility for all of those restricted species on site. And there were about 480 animals total, and quite a few of those were restricted species. So it's been over 3 years now, and we've been just working collaboratively with all the folks on this call and others to try to find good homes and rehome these chimps. And I think that you've all heard me express that the chimps are in excellent hands, and that's still true. The caretakers of those chimps are just fantastic. They're super committed, and they're also committed to staying on site until all the chimps are safely rehomed. And that's amazing, but not surprising when you meet these caretakers. They're just fantastic people, and they're so committed. So we're really, really grateful for that. And there's 2 main reasons why we need to wrap up this and move the chimps to their new homes as soon as we can. And the first is what Erica mentioned, and I won't belabor it, but there's just a great fire danger at Wildlife Way Station. We are in charge for ensuring that we're ready to evacuate if needed, and we walk on pins and needles sort of all summer long, and especially this time of year when it's real fire season. So we want to make sure that the chimps get removed from that situation. And then the other reason is that the state of California, we can't continue financially supporting this effort much longer, is what I'm told. So we've been really fortunate that the last couple of years, we've received some special allocations from our Department of Finance. But the folks at Department of Finance right now are telling us that we can no longer claim this as an emergency under the state definition. So we have to move this along, and we're not going to get it funding for this next year from what we can tell. So we need to make sure that we stay on track with our current timing, and hopefully we can do that. So anyhow, those are just some of the things that I'm thinking about now about in terms of why we need to continue to be successful and move these things along. And again, I just want to thank you all for joining us today and all of your support thus far. So thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Kate, what's going on your end?
Well, I'm going to reiterate what Ed just said and say thank you for having me again. And thanks to everybody else on this call, NAPSA, Erica, Ed, Fish and Wildlife, Diana at Chimp Sanctuary Northwest, for everything you guys continue to do for our chimps. I'm going to first address the incredibly unfortunate and heartbreaking loss of our chimp, Elise, that happened a couple weeks ago. She was rescued from a biomedical facility with her twin sister, Amber, and our veterinarians, Silvio and Dr. Klaus, were immediately called when caretakers observed the normally active chimp, very lethargic one morning. And unfortunately, upon examination, they found a large cancerous tumor that had entwined itself in her uterus and small intestine, and the very, very difficult decision to euthanize her was made. her twin sister, Amber, and her friend Moosey are doing well. They are awaiting transport to Chimp Haven this fall, and we can't wait to get them to their new exciting home where they can start anew. On to better news. As we now have a clear site in End, the wildlife way station is continuing to wind down, which consists currently right now mostly of selling our property, such as vehicles, fencing, building materials, cages, anything that's not needed for the present care of the animals anymore. And this modest amount of money is helping us continue to pay our staff through closure, which is a godsend because they deserve it. We also began clearing dry brush around the property a couple weeks ago, because as you all know, and as Ed just said, we are in high fire danger territory. So we're being incredibly proactive on that to avoid any unfortunate luck that we might have in the next couple months. As for the administrative stuff, we're slowly starting to tackle that, but it's going to be a lot of time. We're putting most of our time, effort, and manpower into caring for the animals while they're still on the property. A staff update. Now with the end near, everybody is savoring their time on the property. We've had exactly 3 years almost to this day to prepare for this. And most of our staff left has been there since almost the beginning of the way station opening. So they're taking time after the closure to see where their hearts call to them. I know many of them plan to visit the chimps at their new forever homes, and I can't wait to see those reunions. It is a sad time, but everybody is grateful to have had this time to cherish every moment, and I will be here till the end to support them however they need. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I would also like to say thank you to not just our remaining staff, but also all the staff that did dedicate their time over the years to the way station over the past decades. I still see a lot of you guys on the call, and that makes me really happy. But for the ones that are still there for our staff, without everybody up there, these animals would have been voiceless in their time of transition. Every time they talk to one of the chimps, it's so clear that they're talking to one of their children. And I think that that support has been so vital. And it warms my heart. It's been an honor serving alongside them these past 3 difficult years. And I'm really excited to be able to follow the future of not just them, but all of these chimps in their brand new homes. So with that, I would like to pass it over to Diana.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you for everything that you've done to help during this very interesting time for the Wildlife Way Station. I am just super grateful to everyone who's contributed to the campaign directly. I know a lot of people on this call have given donations, and just all the work that's gone into making it possible to give the chimps new homes. As I said at the beginning, I am the co-director of Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest, and we are a small sanctuary in Washington State. And we were able to take in 9 of the Wildlife Way Station chimps in total. But I visited a couple of times, and so I met all of the chimps there. And while the 9, obviously, I'm very partial to, I really fell in love with every single one of the chimps there. And so I am as excited to see them go into accredited sanctuaries as the 9 that came here. In particular, I think a lot about Inky. She's a chimp who remains at Wildlife Way Station. She's just got the best personality, and she's going to be able to make a lot of friends, I think, at Chimp Haven when she goes there. Caleb and Jake are 2 chimps that were used in entertainment before going to Wildlife Way Station. They're kind of 2 rambunctious teenage-like chimps, a little bit older than that. And they are already at Save the Chimps, and it sounds like they're doing well. And also going to be able to meet new chimps there and make new friendships. And then there's Jeter. I know a lot of people on this call also feel that Jeter's kind of a special guy. He was basically a pet before going to Wildlife Way Station. And so this whole socialization with other chimps is very new to him. And I know he's like very interested in what the humans are doing. I've heard he loves exploring the tunnels at Center for Great Apes. So just wanted to kind of give a mention to some of the other chimps that are out there too. I really feel like, collectively we work to find the best homes for each individual, and so I'm glad it worked out for everyone. It's going to work out for everyone. So through NAPSA, we communicate with other accredited sanctuaries on a regular basis, and we get to know kind of all the struggles that we share and also the differences between our facilities and organizations. And compared to the other sanctuaries that are part of this particular campaign, Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest is very small. Even with the 9 chimps, which more than doubled our population, we're still a very small facility compared to others. The Chimpanzees in Need campaign has really been very unique and successful effort in collective fundraising, which just doesn't happen very often in any kind of nonprofit. So it's been great to see how we've all worked out everything together. And just a note that, the Chimps in Need fundraising campaign has really helped and has made this all possible. It's really expensive to properly build for chimps. And our own expansion actually began before Wildlife Way Station announced that they were closing. We had been in conversations with laboratories about retiring chimps. And although those talks, I guess you could say, were stalling somewhat, we pushed forward because we knew that there were chimps in need of sanctuary. So our construction was done in phases. And these 3 photos, the bottom one shows kind of the first phase done. And that included a much needed on-site veterinary clinic, which we had a mobile unit before that. So now we have a clinic inside the building. And it was kind of what we call the starter home for Honeybee, Willie Bee, and Maeve. And those are the first 3 chimps that came from Wildlife Way Station to us. And you can see them all gathered very closely together, grooming in one of those photos. So at times they were a very close-knit group, although they're all very, very unique, the 3 of them. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about their new friendships that they've formed with the other group of chimps. So that first phase of our expansion cost $752,000. And we began almost immediately in construction with the next 2 phases of the expansion so that we could take another group of chimpanzees from Wildlife Way Station. So phase 2 was 2 playrooms and 2 covered outdoor areas that we call greenhouses. And they have a human hallway running in between so that the 2 groups could live side by side. And together, these 2 phases cost us $1.2 million to construct. The same as our original group of chimpanzees who came to our sanctuary in 2008, most of the Wildlife Way Station chimps really enjoy the greenhouse areas. So these are kind of like indoor-outdoor areas. They have bamboo planted. They had really nice sod in the beginning, which is a little patchy now. But they really love this space. They enjoy the sunshine that comes in the mornings, especially. But when you think about it, chimps in the wild spend most of their time traveling. So they exist in really large habitats, and no captive situation could ever even possibly come close to mimicking what they would experience in the wild. But we are working right now on building a 2-acre outdoor habitat for this group called the Bray, which is named after, in memory of a former board member of ours. And then we're shifting the original habitat that we had, which some of you may be very familiar with, that we call Young's Hill. And so the original habitat for R7 is getting shifted over a little bit, and then we're building a new habitat for the new group so that they can actually all be outside at once. Not together, but in their separate habitats. Because we're a small organization and electric fencing is pretty simple to construct in a lot of ways, my fellow co-director and husband is actually doing most of the work himself in building with the help of volunteers. And he's been working on this for a few months, but it's a pretty large project. So we still need to install gates. And actually, Cassie, if you go back to that previous slide, and we need to put up, you can see the fence line there. We need to put up 150 posts just down the middle that divides the 2 enclosures. And that means screwing in 5,000 more insulators to those posts and then running wire between them. And then we're actually going to do some landscaping and importantly, building structures for the chimps to get off the ground and experience the incredible views. And the next slide shows one of the first structures that we completed that will be for the new group of chimps. So we are still raising funds for this phase of the expansion that we're in the progress of building. We don't have final costs yet, but we think it will be about 360,000. And that means the total for us to give a home for the 9 chimps from Wildlife Waste Station will be about 2.3 million total. And I'm just like throwing these numbers out there just so you can get a sense of what a monumental undertaking it's been to rehome 40 chimps from Wildlife Waste Station. And they deserve this, they deserve more than this. And again, I really can't thank you enough for everyone who stepped up to help them. The original group of 7 chimps will often patrol their outdoor habitat every day, multiple times a day. And they're really interested in the action that's going on. So this video shows Missy and Annie walking, doing a patrol of their habitat, and then it shows some of the new trees. We're going to be able to actually enclose a few trees for them. So that'll be a first to see if they climb the trees. So aside from the construction, the other huge undertaking has been integrating the 2 separate groups of chimps into one group. And this is something that all of the sanctuaries who are taking chimps from Wildlife Waste Station are doing in order to give them more social partners. And these photos show some of the new friendships that are developing. So if you want to take a real deep dive into the process of integrating the 2 separate groups of chimps, I actually just recently made public kind of a video discussion interview I did with a colleague of ours, Jen Firestein, who was helping us with our intro process. I think that Erica will put up the link to that in the chat if you want to watch more than an hour and a half of discussion about intros. It's a harrowing process. It can be risky, but it's also like hugely rewarding to see chimps develop new friendships. The next photo shows probably more chimps than you can hardly count the number of chimps that are in that group. So they still really like to groom with one another. They're a really tight-knit group. They each have individual friends that they've developed. And, you know, just these last few years, it's kind of crazy to think that this campaign started with the beginning of the pandemic as well. It's been really challenging for all of us, right? And for us to, at the sanctuary, just due to construction delays and just uncertainty and integrating the 2 groups, it's been a lot of challenge, but I am just really amazed, really amazed about this dedicated group and what we've been able to accomplish in rehoming these chimps. So really one of the most rewarding aspects of giving the chimps more social partners in particular is seeing these new friendships develop. And in some cases, the chimps actually knew chimps from earlier in their lives. And so that we were reunited chimps who knew each other. And in particular, I mean, Maeve and Dora also, but it's been really heartwarming to see Rain and Honeybee, who are actually half sisters, just hang out with each other. They're really similar in a lot of ways, and it's really cool to see them. And a lot of the watching that we do actually happens through our remote camera system. And Rain and Honeybee have developed kind of a routine in the mornings, even before the staff get there during the day. And Rain's usually up first. Hang on, I'm just gonna pick up my cat.
We're all animal lovers, Diana.
Okay.
Hi, Lulu.
This is Lulu. So yeah, so it starts, Rain usually gets up first, and then she goes and gets up Honeybee, who sleeps in a little bit later than she does. And then they do this routine of just like kind of walking throughout the enclosures. And so we've started to call it mall walking. If you're a child of the 80s, you're very familiar with that. So that's the next video. It just kind of shows that. And as they go through the enclosures, other chimps will join them and they'll be chasing and playing. And putting together a video that will be on our blog. We have a daily blog that we post to. So tomorrow you'll get the full video, but this is like a little sneak peek of the mall walkers in the morning. Yeah, so I think I'll pass back to Erica to kind of wrap things up. And then I think we'll have time for questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. I know it's always uplifting when Diana's on the call and we get to hear updates on the chimps, because their sanctuary is so beautiful and the chimps have a great life there. If you want to learn more, their blog is just fantastic and they post updates daily with photos, videos, and I mean, you feel like you're there. If you ever do get the chance, you know, if you're in the area near Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest in Washington State, if you ever do get to visit on one of their donor days, I highly recommend it because it's a really beautiful, really wonderful facility. So the chimps are lucky to be there. But we have more work to do ahead of us, right? So the 9 that are with Diana are so fortunate, and we're still fundraising to finish up their construction efforts. There's 10 chimpanzees left at the wildlife way station today. We have homes for all of them, and that's so exciting because, as Diana mentioned, there were this campaign has been an absolute adventure throughout the start to now. I was going to say start to finish, but we're not at the finish quite yet. From COVID to, you know, just so much going on in the world and the questionable fundraising funds available for this campaign. I remember there were months about 2 years ago when we weren't sure if we would have the funds to cover everything at the way station month to month. And I know Ed and I had some really frightening calls back then, right? And feels good to be where we are now. So, so our plan is to rehome those 10 remaining chimps before the end of 2022. That'll be here fast. And then the wildlife way station can completely shut down and Kate can do what she needs to do. Those 10 chimpanzees are all going to Chimp Haven. That's a founding member of NAPSA, an accredited sanctuary in Louisiana, who cares for over 300 chimpanzees already. They're also known as the National Chimpanzee Sanctuary, and they are experts at taking in former laboratory chimps from laboratories. So the chimps are going to really thrive there. They have forested habitats and outdoor access, and it's really beautiful. What the funds that we have left to raise will go towards completing Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest's construction, as well as we're raising funds for 1 year of care for each of the chimpanzees going to these accredited sanctuaries. We've estimated that to cost $25,000 per chimp, and so that is our goal. We want to help because these sanctuaries, as Diana has pointed out, have really extended themselves to make a home for the way station chimps. And we feel that that's the least we could do to support at least 1 year of care in their new homes. And it's really important for me to mention that all funds raised through Chimps in Need goes directly to the chimps. No humans are paid from this fundraiser, and our fundraising partner, Seventh Generation Advisors, manages all the funds pro bono. You can have faith that your money is going directly to those chimps. And we have one more exciting announcement today. This is the first time we're announcing this, but thanks to the generous support of the American Anti-Vivisection Society, all donations we receive over the next few weeks, up to $25,000, will be matched. And American Anti-Vivisection Society has been a critical supporter of this campaign since we started. They've given so many times, and we can't thank them enough for their continued support. We're very grateful to have this match opportunity at this point as we get close to the finish line, because we're going to get there really fast. So I hope all of you will consider making a gift to the campaign to help us meet that match and rescue those 10 remaining chimps. And we hope you'll share the opportunity with your friends and neighbors, because we are just so close. We can almost see the light at the end of that tunnel. And every donation, big or small, helps us get closer to ensuring a safe and healthy future for the chimpanzees from the wildlife way station. So I think now is a good time to open us up for questions. We're right on schedule. I think we're really pros at doing this now. I love it. I haven't seen any questions come through the chat yet, which surprised me. Usually we've got them popping up here and there. But maybe now that we've stopped talking, people will have time to ask us questions. And Cassie, have you received any questions like through email or anything yet? Maybe we can answer those.
So one of the questions that came in earlier was going back to what Diana was sharing at the very beginning about Jeter. and knowing that Jeter is not socialized towards chimps. So are there other chimpanzees that have been pets, former pets also? And is that where Jeter finds his community?
Well, Jeter is at Center for Great Apes, who actually specialize in taking the more humanized, for lack of a better word, chimpanzees, who often were either pets or in the entertainment industry. They are very challenging to socialize and to fit into groups. And so they took Jeter specifically knowing that they would be the best home for him. They are in the process, I believe, this very week of introducing him to 2 females, right? I don't know, maybe Diana knows a bit of an update. I didn't hear how it was going, but it's a very careful, slow process to introduce chimps to each other, especially when they have a history of not getting along as well with other chimps. And Jeter does have some special needs due to his history like that. So we will definitely share updates. I know Center for Great Apes did say something on, I think it was Facebook, about how they were starting to introduce Jeter to friends. So you could look on their Facebook and see what they might have updated everyone with. Diana, have you heard anything about how it's going?
I haven't, no. I know it's really hard to kind of provide updates in the middle of the process. There's a lot of like superstition that starts to happen, I think, with the caregivers. Like, you don't want to say things are going well until you really are confident.
Chimps can be very unpredictable, but
Yeah.
I know they're very dedicated to making sure Jeter has more social opportunities in his new
Yeah,
home.
and really, I mean, I think just him being in a new environment and being around other chimps is kind of a big deal in itself. I think that's, that's the first step.
Absolutely. I do see some questions coming in. Has Chimp Haven been impacted by all the rain in Louisiana? I haven't heard of any issues there. So I'm going to say nothing. If they have been, it hasn't been anything too drastic. They seem to be doing just fine. Ed?
Yeah, I know Raina indicated at some point that they sort of avoided some of the recent storms, some of those big storms. So because they're a little bit further inland, and so we were surprised by that. So I remember that much.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And then let's see, Kathy Buckley, who's a great supporter of the campaign. She asked, what is the remaining number to be raised to complete help for Chimp Sanctuary Northwest and the dowry for each chimp? And we say dowry with quotes. So I'm happy to share that. So we have less than 730,000 total to raise to complete this campaign. I believe the number for the 1 year of care for the chimpanzees is 570,000. So we've raised very close to $4 million so far. And although 730,000 is definitely a large sum of money, we are confident that we will be able to get that by the end of this year and move those 10 remaining chimps and then send support to the sanctuaries that have helped all along. We also are already for almost $4,000 into the match from American Anti-Vivisection Society. So please help us out to reach that 25,000 soon because the chimps need it. And she said, yay. Yeah, that's definitely how we feel. I think you can tell we're all very happy and relieved to be at the point that we're at. It's been a long 3 years. And I can't thank, everyone who's been helping here. And there's a lot of other people who are not on this call who have been very instrumental in getting us to this point. We will be hosting more insider briefings. I believe we'll have one in, I think, September, and you'll hear more about Chimp Haven and progress towards moving the chimpanzees there.
So Erica, the goal is to finish everything by the end of this calendar year, correct?
Correct, by the end of 2022, which is soon, right? I mean, the summer's over already. We're heading into fall. Fundraising time in the winter gets real busy, so we're jumping right into it. But we're eager to move the final chimps and celebrate everyone's safe and happy transport.
And then there was a question that came in from Ed about the enclosure that will have trees.
Is the question, will it have trees?
When? Oh, I should have said when. I'm sorry.
You
When
did.
will the enclosures have trees? I'm sorry.
At our sanctuary?
Yeah. I think that's so exciting.
Yeah, I know. We're a little nervous about it. It'll be interesting to see how the chimps react. So we were trying to enclose a couple on both sides, but we were only able to get like a small grove on the side where the original group lived. So we're hoping to get that side done in a month, but it's hard to tell. We've had a little bit of trouble with delays with the landscaper, although they did show up today. So I'm very excited about that. We have, we're gonna do some, they're kind of pulling water from a pond. So we're gonna have irrigated areas with a bunch of plantings.
That's great.
All right, that's going to be super exciting. So thank you. I didn't know that was happening. I can't wait to see if the chimps take to the trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I know Chimp Haven has shared a story about a chimp really taking to climbing the trees there. And it was a chimp who came from a lab and, as far as anyone knew, had never been able to climb trees before, which was really interesting to think about how they have that ability, even though they were never taught to do so.
Yeah, I've seen chimps on videos at Chimp Haven in the trees. So that's what I was thinking. Oh, that'd be so really cool if these chimps can actually get to go climb some trees.
You know, and Diana had mentioned some of the hurdles that this campaign has overcome since its inception. And another unfortunate surprise was the increased cost of construction since COVID. And that was challenging for the sanctuaries as well, because some of the plans that they established in the very beginning of 2020 cost a lot more by the time they were actually built. And I have to point out that the sanctuaries have definitely not had all funds provided to them. They've taken on a lot of that themselves, and we're really grateful that they were able to do so, because they were so dedicated to taking out the chimps as quickly as they could.
And Erica, can you remind us or tell us a little bit about when the group went to save the chimps? They had an unusual mode of transportation.
They did. So until recently, all the chimpanzees were moved on the road. So in specialized climate controlled vehicles that are made for transporting large animals. And it is challenging sometimes to move animals in the middle of summer, but Save the Chimps wanted to get their chimps out and to their sanctuary as quickly as possible. And they looked into how zoos transport animals is actually in the air through FedEx on airplanes. You know, I know that's news to most people. You don't think of FedEx moving animals, you think of them moving boxes and packages, but Save the Chimps contacted FedEx, and through their program called, I believe it's FedEx Cares, they agreed to donate the flight to these chimpanzees, which made it possible because we certainly could not afford airfare for the chimpanzees. And they were able to fly. And so it was, I believe it was right before 4th of July. They were able to go, and it was a much shorter trip for them, which was great because think of it, they were flying from California to Florida, which is, it's a long way on the road. And so it made the trip shorter for them, and they were very well taken care of all throughout. I know they had a veterinarian and a caregiver with them, and they reported that the chimpanzees did not appear stressed. They were content. They had lots of snacks, and it was seamless. So we're really grateful for Save the Chimps for facilitating that, and for FedEx for providing that option to us. We do not expect the chimps to fly to Chimp Haven for a number of reasons. They felt more comfortable driving them, so we're going to be using an experienced animal transporter to move them in 2 groups. And these are 2 groups of chimps. All along, we've been moving their existing social groups together. And so that's what we'll be doing for these last 10 chimpanzees quite soon. This is a great question. Someone asked, have the chimps been vaccinated for COVID? At the way station, they have not. Some sanctuaries and some zoos are choosing to vaccinate their chimpanzees, and some are not. I know that at Chimp Haven, they are vaccinating them. So we can hear more from them on the next insider briefing about when and if they plan to vaccinate the way station chimps for COVID. Diana, is your sanctuary vaccinating for COVID?
We have opted not to at this point. We're kind of keeping an open mind about it. the vaccine that's available is one that was developed for initially dogs. So it's not the same as the human vaccine, and they're using it across all animal species. It does seem to be proven, I guess. But it takes 2 doses of the vaccine, and the vials, I think it's for 10, it's either for 5 or for 10. And so you have to kind of use them up right away. So it's a little bit challenging if you don't have a lot of chimps who are trained for injections, which some of them are. And actually the wildlife waste station chimps are much better trained. They obviously had some experience with training before with positive reinforcement training. So, and we also, interestingly enough, no chimpanzee that we know of across any facility in any country has tested positive for COVID, which is weird in some ways, because even in zoos where there are gorillas who have definitely tested positive for COVID, even had symptoms, the chimps living in those same zoos have not gotten COVID or have developed symptoms. So there maybe is some species difference that is preventing the chimps from catching it.
Yeah, that's been a really pleasant surprise. And I think we're all just holding our breath and hoping that it continues that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all these variants, you just never know, something might change. And so we're, all the sanctuaries are being extra cautious. At our sanctuary, we all the staff test twice a week, and we are always wearing masks around the chimps.
Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting, because I know that some big cats have gotten COVID. So that's really interesting that you're saying that.
Oh,
Yeah,
they vaccinate them for COVID,
Yeah.
the chimps.
Let's make sure everyone's muted. Thank you, Diana. That's very helpful information. And yeah, it is really surprising, considering that chimps are so similar to humans genetically, and yet these other species that are not have gotten COVID, but the chimps haven't. So let's hope it continues. But meanwhile, the chimps at the waste station are receiving great care. I know Ed mentioned that, and I did share a link in the chat, if you scroll up a little bit, to an article that just came out maybe a week ago, highlighting the chimps head caregiver at the waste station, whose name is Anher Flores, and he's their best friend / parent, and he knows them all inside and out, and is just so wonderful with the chimps. So every time that we have a transport day, and they're packed into crates to move to their new homes, it's bittersweet, because Anher knows this is best for them, and he's happy for them, but also sad to see them go. You can watch a little bit more about that if you go to chimpsinneed.org. We have a great short documentary. It's about 7 minutes long, from filmmaker Sean Munson, and you can hear directly from Anher in that about the chimps and what it's like caring for them, especially now knowing that everything's going to be changing for them. But they've had that consistency at the waste station all throughout, and that's been so wonderful. And I know when they're coming to their new homes, they're in great health, which really indicates the level of care that they've been receiving despite all this upheaval. So good job on Kate and her team for maintaining that. Clap, clap, clap. Someone said Anher is amazing. Yes, he is. As is Kate, as is the whole team. This is really a group effort. And I thought of that when Diana was talking about the friendships between the chimps. And I mean, the humans are going to come out with new friendships too, which is really nice. Are there any other questions for us today? It's a quiet group today, Cassie.
It is. It's a Friday afternoon, and we're dog days of summer. And I do want to underscore something that Diana said early on, and both Kate and Ed alluded to, which is the collective effort of everybody coming together, all the sanctuaries coming together and tackling this project together. Those of you who are involved with other nonprofits know that it's really challenging for nonprofits in the fundraising world. And so when everybody comes together for a common cause, it's just an amazing and wonderful thing. And we've certainly seen that here. Very, very impressed. And for the anti-vivisection match, Erica, how long are we running that for? Do we know we want to hit it? And I believe they've given us a month to hit that goal. Am I remembering that correct?
I think a month is accurate. Yeah, Cassie. So it started at the beginning of August. Let's see if we can get it by, let's say mid-September. We'll give ourselves a little time because we didn't announce it really until very
Until
recently.
tonight.
Yeah. So we'll give ourselves a little leeway there to match it, but we're just so grateful to have that opportunity. So your dollars go twice as far.
And then everybody's wondering what Ed's gonna do when he actually has some free time on his hands and he's not managing this job as well.
Yeah, I have a full-time job. I'm plenty busy, so I got plenty to do. But I will miss this group if we ever stop working on this. Really, it's been fantastic to get the opportunity to work with these folks. But I got plenty to do to keep me busy.
Ed has his hands full with California Department of Fish and
Right.
Wildlife.
Yes, I
Project.
do have a real job. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll just be so happy, you know. I think for me, it was the uncertainty of not knowing how this was all going to work, especially once COVID hit. And knowing that the chimps couldn't stay and knowing that funding from the state was limited. And just, you know, that's really what got to me. So that's why it feels so exhilarating to look back at what we've accomplished and to see that what we have left is very feasible compared to what we've done already. And that we have some great people working on this and really experienced, caring folks and chimpanzee experts who know how to transport chimps and get them to where they need to go. And it's all been working, and it'll work until they're safe. So if you have, when we're done, if you have any questions that pop into your head later, you can always reach us. You can reach Chimpanzees in Need through NAPSA. Our information is right there. And I'll be the one writing back. So please let me know what you're thinking. And then you can contact Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest and follow their progress. And again, go to their website and look at their blog. You will not regret it. I have one of their pictures hanging on my wall. That's how good their pictures are.
Mhm.
Well, thanks. I think that's it for tonight. I appreciate everyone joining us on a Friday. I know you're busy and you have busy lives, but these chimps are important too, and we know that you care. So thank you so much. We'll get them home soon.
Yep.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank you,
weekend.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
night.
We will share the recording in a few days. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks, everyone.